Hi, I'm Caudullo, and today we're going to go over how to use the Vuze XR 360 and VR 180 camera and its own magic selfie stick.
And magically, here they are out of the box and ready to go. So the Vuze XR, even though it's not the newest camera on the market, it is an extremely reliable and excellent quality prosumer camera. It's got a great little bag that you always want to keep it in, because these two lenses, if they go down on the ground, you're going to get scratched lenses. And even if you lay them down gently, if you pick them up wrong, it'll scratch the lenses. So always, when you're not using it, keep it in the bag. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to attach it to the Vuze XR selfie stick, which is an excellent little selfie stick that goes out quite large. There we go. But for now, let's go all the way back to the basics and let's talk about how to use the camera and how to use it properly. First of all, you have basically four buttons, not three. One is the power, which we're going to press that now. And you notice it goes blue, and you're going to see a little icon come up here as soon as it's ready, like that. And now this turns white and you're ready to shoot. The Wi-Fi button is located just above it. Press that once and it'll come up and start blinking. And then your start and stop record is right here on the side. So everything is very easily gotten to with one hand. Now, you've got the two 360 cameras, or the one 360 camera that's actually doing about 200 degrees in each direction. And if you want to do VR 180, which is 3D, this button right here, just press it, and magically you get a VR 180 camera. Now, let's say you want to do a still rather than a video. Press the button again, the power button, and you notice it's switched over to a still camera.
Now there's a few things about 360 cameras that you do have to keep an eye on. First of all, they're not just point and shoot cameras. Just because they shoot everything around, there are some positions that you don't want to be in, because you have a steam that runs on either side, and that has to be blended together between the two. So for instance, you wouldn't want to hold the camera like this because the seam is right in front of your face, and you're going to wind up not blending together very well. So you would want to turn around more this way. The other thing is, you don't want to hold it like this, because if you hold it like this, your face is going to be so close to the frame that it's going to be really, really bad, because you're going to wind up with what we call big face. So I like to keep it in my hand, as you see here, and have it extended away at about a 45-degree angle, about level with my chin. It's very quick, it's very easy to go ahead and do. Now, one of the other things that you have to keep in mind is that the camera has to blend the exposure on both sides. So it's taking an exposure reading here and one here, and then it puts them together. So what you want to try and do is make sure that your exposure is trying to hit both equally if you can. If you have too much brightness on one side and darkness on the other side, then you're going to wind up sometimes with a line in between, or it's not going to be a very good exposure. It's either going to be overexposed or underexposed, and that's going to make it more difficult for your camera to do a good job for you. So what you might want to do in those situations is change the angle of the camera to where both lenses are getting a similar exposure. You don't have to be straight in the middle of one of the lenses. You can be off to the side like this, and it's not going to cause any problem, because in post-production, you can go ahead and move yourself over anywhere you want to. It's called rotating the sphere. So you want to try and make sure that the camera is getting a good, even exposure. That'll give you a much better image. So let's talk about VR 180. VR 180 will engage by pressing the button, and now you're shooting 3D VR 180. which is exactly what we're doing on the other side of the camera right now, with the camera that's recording us, which is also, by the way, a Vuze XR. With VR 180, you have two lenses that represent each one of your eyes. And just like each one of your eyes, you're viewing things from a slightly different perspective. The camera lens also records those slightly different perspectives, and then when they're put together, you have a seamless side-by-side image that your brain processes. When it sees that difference, it recognizes that that's creating depth, and it gives your brain the illusion of 3D depth. Now, one thing that you don't want to do with VR 180 is you don't want to tilt it, because it will be very difficult for your eyes to see that connection. It'll actually make it look bad. So another thing that's good for you to have are these 3D anaglyph glasses. These are red cyan. It's a great accessory because in both Premiere and in the Vuze VR Studio, you can actually look at your image using these anaglyph glasses with one of the settings that are in there. And it makes it much easier for you to see how good you did as far as getting the depth right. And you can switch it to see it in red cyan anaglyph, and you can even output it in red cyan anaglyph if you wanted to. So keep your lines straight. It's always best in VR 180 to keep it on a monopod or a tripod, because if you're trying to hold it, your hand is going to move and you're going to wind up with making people very sick looking at it inside the headset. So don't move around too much. So as much as possible with VR 180, you want to keep it looking straight ahead and keep it on a monopod and not on a selfie stick. But there is another way to do this, and that's by using a gimbal, a professional gimbal, electronic gimbal. So have a look here, and so as you can see, I've already got this set up and I've got it balanced on my gimbal. You notice I've got a little bit of extra weight on the back because I'm having to push the camera out a little bit more, and you don't want to be able to see the gimbal. So by doing it this way, I'm getting a good area that I can see, and I've also added an extra plate to extend it out just that little bit extra that I need. And now I'm going to show you real quick, if I close this up, that this wouldn't work so good as a 360 camera, because then you're going to see the gimbal and you're going to see everything else around you. So keep in mind that for a 360 camera, it's already got the built-in stabilization that you need, and so you don't need to use the gimbal. Now I'm going to activate record, and I'm going to do a little bit of walking with the camera here.
And you'll see how nice and smooth it looks. Now I'm going to turn and I'm going to come back towards camera. So if you've got to do walking shots, go slowly, because it takes a little bit more for the brain to be able to fuse the images together, and people sometimes will get motion sickness with walking shots. So keep your walking shots slow and smooth, and don't jerk them around. That's very important for getting good results out of this. Remember that with a VR headset, you've got a near field display that's really, really close to your eyes.
It's just a fantastic camera, I've got to tell you. I hope that this gives you a better idea of how to use the Vuze XR. There will be more videos to come, and thanks for watching.
Here we go again. I demand more! I want it